Let's see here. Hey, how we doing, kids? Today, Malachi is talking Crown Vic subframes again. As you can see, we got three of these fellas here, that I picked up yesterday. Differing conditions on each of them. Sometimes you get these things; they're really nice, and sometimes they are pieces of crap. Well, the pros and cons of them are pretty well worked over on the internet. On these ones, here's some pro tips on if you're getting them, wanting to, like, hey, I want to buy these and sell these, make some extra cash on the side because I got a connection and a hookup. I sell them for usually between $300 to $400 a piece, depending on condition, mileage, and other factors. Now, things to look for if you're looking to buy one: common failings, that kind of thing. This one right here, this has 60,000 miles on it. Even with that, you'll see that the rack and pinion and the whole area around there has grime on them. This is a Tennessee car, 60,000 miles, but it's actually overall in very, very good shape. Low mileage one. This brings $400 for me. Things to look out for: very, very common split boots on the upper, like right here. This one's missing a spindle, which I actually have the spindle. Somebody took it off for some reason, but as you can see, the boots are torn. Super common. These two right here both have like around about 140, 150,000. I think one of them has 136,000 miles on it, but they are still split boots on the upper ball joints. You can replace either the whole upper control arm, which is a pain in the ass. You'd think it doesn't look hard, it's just real simple. No, it's a pain in the ass. Or you can push out the ball joint and replace just the ball joint. Very easy job. Do that. They're like 10 bucks a piece on eBay. Don't waste your freaking time. Other things to be careful about on this one: also, somebody had pulled the motor, and when they did, they ripped the power steering pressure line off. So you're going to need, like in this situation, I have to go get another power steering pressure line to sell with this if I want to sell a complete unit. I actually have the spindle. That right there is a $300 unit. Part of the reason why is because there was battery acid tearing up when the vehicle was in a front end wreck. Battery acid spilled, corroded up the aluminum. If you're in a northern climate, this is something to be aware of. Especially, I buy these things sometimes from Michigan, and you have to be very, very careful that the springs aren't cracked. They will bust. They'll just split, and that's the end of it. You can change out the whole strut spring assembly, or the spring shock assembly. It's not that expensive. eBay is your friend, but be aware of those. That is a common failing, and you will be paying extra for them. Other points that you need to look for, especially if it was in a wreck in any way. This right here is a very weak point where the control arm mounts here. Check both sides, especially the front where the rack and pinion is. It will crack, and you will find... I've actually had one where I went to go sell it to somebody, and he was inspecting. I had like 2 or 3 of them sitting on the trailer. He ended up discovering that one of them had a crack in it. I sold him a different one for the same price. Not a big deal. At that point in time, it was good for nothing but parts in case I needed a spindle or something like that. So that is something else to be aware of. If you get the opportunity, always pull it yourself. Don't have other people pull them for you. The reason why is they frequently forget these big bolts and nuts, and hardened bolts that size are probably around 25 bucks a pop. So 25, 25, 25, 25, $100 you can save on that. It doesn't really matter the year. People think, well, I want this year, I heard this is better, heard that is better, the police package, the civilian package, I want it higher, I want it lower, I want the better brakes, what's the best brakes you got? All the brakes are essentially the same. I believe, and I'm not 100% confirming this because I've seen discrepancies both ways, but my understanding was that the police package had ceramic pistons in the brake calipers for better heat dissipation. I don't actually know, or better heat insulation for the fluid so the brake fluid doesn't get as hot and start to boil as quick. There's no real proof of that that I can see that define. I've seen police packages with ceramic ones and vice versa. Allegedly, the police packages have a tighter, or have a shorter lock-to-lock steering, but their steering is a little bit tighter, and it's a little bit harder to turn. Maybe, I don't know. I have a police package in my truck, and it turns just fine. If you can get this piece of steering linkage as much as possible. I like to get it from up to here, but frequently it's just not possible. At least you need this. And this right here, I believe, it's a weird oblong shape. I think I've shown it in other videos, but it's like a real similar to the Mustang. I think it is the same as the Mustang style. I try and get all the power steering lines whenever possible. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. These things will let you bolt up any Ford modular motor up to the V10. Any of the Cobra motors that are the 4.6, 5.4s, whatever, they'll all fit. So maybe this will help somebody do something. Other things to be prepared to, and is these are frequently blown out. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Look for that. Expect it that you have to buy them. I think they used to be like 40 bucks for a pair of them. So that's not really that bad. It is possible to buy just the bushing that fits in the center here and cut this one out and press a new one in if you've got the equipment to do that. Most people don't. Cost will come down if you do. Make sure you always get these U-brackets to hold the sway bars on. I zip tie them to each unit, that way it's there. I use a strap to carry it. I use this little crane arm I put on my trailer just to move these damn things easier by myself, because I'm frequently by myself. 05 and older have the aluminum control arms, the lower control arms right here, and they also have the cast iron uppers. Later years, they went to a stamped upper control arm and a stamped steel, also lower control arms. The whole thing as a complete unit is heavier. They're also, because of the stamped steel control arms, more of a pain to remove. I made a video on the order of operations to remove them. I'd kind of like to change that, although it does increase your difficulty when removing them. By increasing your difficulty of increasing the risk you take when you're removing them. Usually, I end up removing these 3 bolts on each side earlier on in the process, and a couple of the last things I do is remove these big bolts. Now, technically, the nut is on top and the bolt comes up from below. Take the nut off is the first thing I do on every single one of them, and then I do a whole series of other things. But then I go to take the nut out right here from below, or take the bolt out from below, and you run a socket up through here. Well, what happens is, on the driver's side, I've never had a problem, hardly. The passenger side is where, see, these are oval shaped and these are round holes. The oval shape is to allow for variations in the frame manufacturing, the casting of the aluminum, all the machining. So they start everything based off the driver's side, and then this side is adjusted accordingly. But what happens is you go try and remove this, and this, it ends up being so far in that this control arm bolt and nut get in your way of your tool, and you can't get it out. If you take this out first, the control arm springs back in just a little bit and blocks you right here. It makes the whole thing a pain in the ass. So there's times when I'll actually loosen this nut. I've actually had to remove it, the nut completely, to get some of them. I've actually had to take the rack and pinion out completely just to be able to get this bolt all the way in far enough to get the clearance to get this nut out, or to get the bolt out. It's a pain in the ass. The steel ones are especially the case with this. So if it's a steel control arm, 2006 or newer, what I would do on the passenger side is leave these 3 bolts in, get this bolt out first. It'll give you more room right here to get your tool. Trust me, you're going to want to do this. Myself, the way I tend to do these on the 06 and newer is I take a 3/8 drive, 21 millimeter on this bolt head right here, because remember it's going from below, with a 3/8 extension and then the 3/8 to 1/2 inch drive, either ratchet if you're doing ratchets. I use a battery powered impact, and it usually pulls them out. Every now and then you have trouble, like this one right here. I had a freaking pain in the ass on that one because of the corrosion. That'll usually get it around the control arm. If you leave this bolted up, it'll make it a lot easier. After that one bolt is out, then take these 3 out, then do all, then you can release everything else. So it's just an addendum to the previous video that I had made about pulling these things, and hopefully a helpful tip. It takes me as little, I took this thing out right here in probably less than 15 minutes. Well, less than half an hour I took out that one and this one. Less than half an hour doing both of them at the same time. It was pretty freaking easy. So hopefully this will help somebody at some point in time when trying to remove them on that tip. The rest of it, how long it takes you to remove these things, I've had to take as much as a couple hours once, because those bolts did not want to come out. 2003, 4, and 5 are usually pretty easy. In 2006 especially, they used a different type of Loctite on these bolts. So where they screw into the frame, you end up with something that is a bitch to remove. Sometimes the tool will not pull it out. So, just FYI. Hope somebody learned something from this. Peace out, bitches.